the power of loving what you do is so core to not only my personal journey, but also the whole philosophy and product design behind Duckbill. So
Yeah.
you were just saying, keep going.
Yeah. Like I believe this and I've seen it that if people are enjoying their days, just very simply, like, are they having a good day more often than not? Then that takes care of like everything else in the business, right? Because if they feel, trusted and happy and like they can use their skills and um, they're enjoying each other, then all the good things follow, right? Like they're more creative, they're more transparent with colleagues, they're, more efficient because they're also not worrying about being like performative business people. Like they're actually just like doing the work that they think matters. Like they'll stick around, have more people, invite more people to come to the company. They'll do better work because they just genuinely care about the customers and clients. Like if
Amen.
you've solved for all of that, like if you solve for people having generally good days, like it's everything from there trickles. It's like you're set.
Amen. Amen. One of the most formative moments in my career was when I was in a role at an amazing organization that just wasn't my passion. And I remember hearing through the wall into the next office next door a friend of mine whose passion that work was, laughing away, having a total blast. And I was thinking to myself, I want to find a job and a career that I feel as passionately and as joyfully about as my friend Tom feels about this work.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to figure out what that was. But my God, the advantage that comes when you're thinking about the work in the shower, when you're reading things and consuming content that's relevant for what you're doing, when you're talking to your friends about it organically, is makes you, and in my experience, has made me better at the work and ensures that my joy and my work are not at odds. They go hand in hand. And for people who work as hard as you and I'm sure everybody who will be listening to this do, it's like, why would you do anything else?
Yeah. Yes. It makes everything so much easier, right? Like, and certainly not to say that you have to like love it so much you're working all hours. Like that's not the goal either. But the time that we do spend at work, why are we giving up on that? Like that's 5/7 of your life every week, And so like it's worthy of attention. And I'm always like a little frustrated by the business case for engagement because even though there is like a really good one and like engagement drives performance and even camaraderie at work, all that, but also like people should just value their days because these are their days on the planet, right? And like it's you as an employee, right? Like this is how you're spending your life, right? Like
Yes.
and that is deserving of being good, like in and of itself. And uh
Amen. Amen. Can I actually jump to this quote that you
yeah,
referenced
yeah.
questions that, and I always bungle it, Thich Nhat Hanh, pieces every
Mhm.
step about we're very good at preparing to live, but not at living, and the importance of honoring being alive. How does that factor into your work and into the message that you're bringing into Today Was Fun?
Yeah. So I'm a little like anti delayed gratification, which maybe is not a popular stance because there's like the marshmallow study, which is
Yep.
in some degrees of debunked over the years, but the idea that like if you can wait for the second marshmallow, and for anyone listening who doesn't know, researchers put kids in front of one marshmallow and they said, "I'll come back in 15 minutes. If you haven't eaten that marshmallow, I'll give you a second marshmallow." And so they followed those kids later, the ones that could resist and wait for the second marshmallow had other, predictors of success or successful outcomes later in life, right? Like, so those became the kids that could like exercise now for a healthy body later, who could work now for good retirement later. And so, there's so much work ethic instilled in us, which I think that's a good thing in lots of ways. But also, we're missing the moment now. So in that quote, it's like we're missing the only moment that we have to be alive is this moment. And so if we're only preparing to live, but not living,
Yes.
then we're missing it, right? And it's one of the reasons why I've really loved Duckbill is because there's so many tasks that just feel like a down payment on my future self's happiness or organization, right? Like I've got to call the doctor, I have to call the insurance, I've got to like plan for this, I've got to buy the it's all like in preparation. Meanwhile, I'm missing the fact that like my daughter's home and it would be nice to hang out with her and like my husband's around and I want to ask how his day is, but instead I'm like, "Oh, one more thing off the to-do list." And so if we can solve for some of that, then we're here. Like then we've arrived in the moment without feeling distracted by serving our future selves.
Oh my God. I feel like you just gave the most beautiful articulation of why we founded this company. Truly. It always seemed wildly unjust to me that people of significant means could buy their time back and people without them couldn't. That, people who could afford to hire personal help or a household manager or a nanny or who had a job that came with an executive assistant had the ability to make better use of their present,
Yeah.
make better use of their time. And in a world in which time is the really the most limited resource for all of us and has such a bearing on people's quality of life and meaning and joy and health, that seemed like a matter of injustice to me. And especially when we have technology now that is able to give people access to their time back, especially when you combine that with amazing humans who love doing this work and find it meaningful and find it fulfilling. This
Mhm.
felt like a matter of genuine urgency to us to ensure that everybody has the option to offload whatever it is that drains them so that they can do things that are more fulfilling to them with no judgment as to what that actually is. Whether it's spending time with loved ones or being alone for a beat or
Yeah.
hanging out or investing in a career you're really passionate about, whatever that is, we have one precious life. And the last thing any of us should be spending it on is administrative work that we dread.
Yes. Right, because I think when we're in threat detection mode, which is the mode we're in where we're like, we're like whack-a-moling stuff. Like, okay, respond to that email, get that thing sent in, like call this, figure out what's happening with this other thing over here. Like then our whole minds are just oriented to how do we reduce the noise in
Yeah.
our life, right?
Yes.
Which is the opposite of really enjoying life, which is increasing some of the noise, which is let's go to the botanic gardens and wander around and see what we find. But that none of that is efficient, right? Like, and
Right.
so when we're in the mode of it has to be efficient, because if I'm not efficient, I will drown, then we're only putting our attention towards things that are efficient and we miss all of the beautiful, messy, noisy parts of life that make life really beautiful. Like
Amen.
spending the extra long lunch with a friend instead of getting back to the tasks that you have at hand.
Yes. Yes.
So I love that you have built this. I have been such a fan.
Glad. It's
I
been an honor to be even just a small part of your life and your journey.
think well,
Rooting
I'm
for people like you because the the world, think of, you know, Christmas story style, an alternative universe where any and all of us are drowning in all of this administrative work and don't publish a book like Today Was Fun and don't use that spare energy we have to get this wildly important message out into the world and the future that exists on the other side of it for our kids and the future that exists on the other side of it for other people who need to hear that important message that you're bringing. I mean, I can't imagine a better mission than being a small part of that, and anyone else out there who's has a much bigger purpose than, like, waiting on hold.
Yeah. I mean, right? I'm one of many out
Yeah,
there who are benefiting from this and have a little bit of time and space to be creative, to enjoy themselves. Because I always say once a day passes, it doesn't come back. Like
yes,
that, at the end of today, April 29th, we're recording, like that day is done. And
yes,
so if you haven't spent it enjoying a little bit of it or make putting some art in the world or helping family, a friend, it's done. If you spent that instead triaging,
yes.
that's anyway. I love that you're making it more possible for more people to have that kind of life. It's really important.
So glad. Can you tell me I cannot wait to
Mm.
get my pre-ordered, book and to actually read this in hard copy. But you have a chapter called "Time is the New Money." What do you mean by that? And how might we reframe how we think about time to something that is worth us prioritizing, is worth us taking as seriously as money, that we have budgets and structured and disciplines around, and actually deploying our time in as uh, intentional a way as that?
Yeah. Well, Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, has this great quote that we so eagerly pass out our time to people, like to bosses, to colleagues. Can you do this for me? Can you do that? Or even just to the tasks of life. In business, time equals money. And we would never pass out our money without being intentional about, like, I'm going to invest in this charity or invest in this future company or, whatever I want to. We don't think about our time as valuable in that way because it
Yes.
feels like a renewable resource, and
Mm,
it is not. Like, we are finite mortal humans, and we are gonna run out of time one way or another. Our days are limited in that way. It just we don't often think about it on a day-to-day basis, and so it's possible to overwork and not realize that time is passing you by. Like,
yes.
for working days, nights, and weekends, we don't realize that our arteries are stiffening because we're not exercising. We don't realize that our kids are getting older or that we haven't talked to a friend that we considered a close friend in like over 2 months. And so the chapter in the book is a call to start valuing our time as the most precious asset that we have,
Yes.
because it is. It's very someone I'm misquoting someone, but it's always possible to get money back if you spent it. It's always possible to try and make more money in the future,
Yeah.
but you can never get time back,
That's right.
right? Like, it's when it's gone, it's gone. And so for us to be able to value ourselves more requires being much more intentional about how we are spending that time, what lights us up, what brings us joy, how we can even waste time in ways that fulfill us. Like, I love a jigsaw puzzle, but I
Yes.
can only do a jigsaw puzzle if I'm not drowning in 10 other places. And so it's a it's a call to stop the drowning, I guess, to like start to value that.
Amen. 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 You know, I was having a conversation recently about the the tendency for the overachievers among us to feel like, if I just work a little harder, if I just put in a little bit more of my own time, wrestle control into this thing. And the relationship between this notion of time and effort and control. And I think coming to peace with the limits of our own control, and then coming to peace with the idea that that time can be divided with resources out there, especially now that there are tech solutions who can help shoulder the load of that, allows us to regain that control without it being so expensive to our time, and without having to give so much of ourselves. And I think what's so empowering about your call to value time as we would money is that for so many of us, what is the point of generating wealth, generating income? It's so that we have control of the time that we have on this planet. It's so that we then have the freedom to not work as hard so we can retire, or the freedom to not have to worry about X because I will be able to deploy my financial resources at that problem. But the issue is so much of modern life, money is not enough to solve the problem. It requires the investment of time and advocacy and effort. And so allowing there to be an affordable solution that
Mhm.
is to get that time back, and then very critically destigmatizing it in the way that you are doing by calling on people to reclaim their time and value it as much as they do their financial budgets, I think is such a wildly beautiful thing.
Yes. Well, I can share a duckbill story about this exactly. So I I did my like proper 40 something thing to do and I got my mammogram with the sonogram and then I got a bill and I was like what the hell is this? This is preventative care. And so okay, the thought of being on hold with an insurance company feels like some kind of circle of hell to me. I can't and then the problem is it sits on my to-do list and then it's constantly in the back of my mind. Did you do it yet? Did you do it yet? Right? And then I'm like now I'm feeling guilty about it. Now I haven't done it. Now it's like dragging my productivity and everything else because I still see it on my calendar whenever I go look. And so I was like, I don't want to do it. Like, is there someone else that can do it? And the answer was yes. So I put it into Duckbill. And at first, to be honest, I was like, is it going to be more work than it's worth to explain it and do all the things? But I was like, no, I'm just going to give it a go. I put my insurance card, I put this letter I got in the mail for the $500 bill, and I was just like, what can you do? And it was amazing. And then like a duckbill like agent there was on the phone with somebody from Cigna ready to explain to me the bill which I did owe, which is another annoying bit about insurance. But anyway, besides that, I was like, "Oh, this is just solved." To have like because otherwise what I would have done is continue to stress about it, maybe not paid the bill because I'm like, "I'm sure this is wrong," or paid the bill and felt like I don't think that was right, and now I'm just feeling out $500 and really annoyed about the thing. It just felt like having a partner and also a partner that wasn't my husband where I had to be like, "Can you call? Can you call?" It's also my mammogram. I know I probably should call. Anyway,
Yes.
it was beautiful. I was like, "Oh, there's like a human over there that I can trust."
Oh,
And like who would have done the thing that I would have done, which was like really be thoughtful about like what is this bill and why is it and let's get to the bottom of it. Anyway, um
made my day with that story. I'm
here.
so glad first that you were prioritizing your own care. That is something we find many of our users struggle to do because of the very administrative challenges that you're describing. The booking, the insurance logistics, the payment on the back end, actually having someone in your corner unlocking this for you is the difference between having that appointment and not for many, many people. And second, the reason we call our humans in the loop co-pilots
Yes, that's
before.
better than agent or whatever I said. I was like trying to remember the name. I loved that. Yeah.
Yes. And this was before co-pilot was some sense of a household word to describe something within AI because we wanted people to have that sensation of someone who's sitting side by side, shoulder to shoulder with them, navigating the complexities of modern life. I don't know what your upbringing looked like, but in my house, we had a full-time stay-at-home adult who spent their days, God bless my mother, navigating all of this. And she took time off of her own brilliant career as a music therapist, where she was helping so many people in profound ways and, finding fulfillment herself to do all this administrative work on our behalf. And most modern families don't have that luxury of having someone who is able to stay home. Most modern families either have a single working parent or two working parents and are not able to have a full-time person in the home. And where has all that work gone? It's not like life has gotten easier. If anything, it's gotten more complex. At time has gotten more scarce. And so the idea of having a co-pilot who is a human fighting for you,
Mhm.
who can do that at scale in high quality ways because they are now armed with this world changing technology of Gen AI. That was the sensation that we were going for. And that was the effect that we were going for there. So I'm so happy to hear that that worked in that case for you.
Yeah. And, like, I love the term co-pilot because also my initial feeling was, like, I'm just alone in this, right? Like, so this is just gonna eat at me alone, and, like, I can't ask my 10-year-old daughter to call and like, my husband has his own doctor's appointments to schedule and so it just felt like, oh, this is but to have someone else that's also in it with you, like,
Yeah.
just psychologically, it just felt like, "Oh, good." Like, I don't have to do all these things by myself, which is generally, like, the overachiever in me is like, "Oh, yeah, you take it all on, you do all the things, you stay on top of everything." But, it's and also all of these tasks tend to be the urgent tasks of like, I gotta get these things done, right? And you're missing the important tasks on the other side of that. Like, I was not writing it, before when I was looking at this bill, I was just stressing about like, what do I do with this? And
Yes.
so it was, yeah, it's just lovely to have someone in your corner, right? Like someone else.
Someone
So
once told me that the most powerful words that a human can hear are "you are not alone." And you're reminding me of that. Like
yeah,
just having the commiseration, feeling taken care of, feeling like someone else is looking out for you. When my guess, Bree, is that you spend your days looking out for everybody else in your life and having another set of eyes, another set of hands and legs who can help with all of those things to catch and manage. That's what we all deserve.
it's true. I mean, and especially like I think of like I'm right now in peak caregiving, right? I'm a father with Alzheimer's who I care for, a 10-year-old daughter, clients, which is a lot of caregiving as well.
Yes.
It's all caregiving, and like I think I do a good job of taking care of myself, but it's also nice to have someone take care of you. Like my husband brings me coffee in the morning. I tell him he's my hero every morning. But it's nice to also someone else who can like
Yes.
do all of these other tasks that otherwise just sit there and make me feel lonely and frustrated. It's like why experience all of that? So anyway, I'm just really grateful for what you built. I
I
think
am
it's been really beautiful.
so glad. I'm realizing that we're over time. I could talk to you about
Oh my gosh, we are, aren't we? Okay.
I don't have a hard stop if you want to keep going. I know we didn't cover the getting good at life, not just at work, but I'm happy to talk about that or anything else or let you go and have you, speaking of time, allow you to enjoy your
Yeah.
afternoon and evening.
I've got like 5 more minutes and then I have to take my daughter to the orthodontist actually
Let's do
as it
it.
goes with caregiving. So, or we
Let's
can
do it.
yeah, whatever, I'll follow your lead where you want to go.
I would love to hear your expert thoughts on what it takes to get good at life, not just at work. What advice do you have and what should we be thinking about as Duckbill to help be that true co-pilot and partner to you and all of our members?
Yeah. So that's the last chapter in the book and it answers the question of if I'm enjoying my work and I'm not overworking, just staying in its place, what do I even do with the extra time? Because I think that's actually a reason some people overwork is because the rest of their time is not filled.
100%.
They've just and sometimes, through no fault of their own, like hobbies have seemed indulgent or like, we've just as a society aren't that great at wasting time in a beautiful I mean that in a beautiful way, like in just taking our time with things. So the last chapter is about, well, when you have some slack in your life, when you have a little bit of extra time, how are you going to use it? Because that's the beautiful you get to be the artist of your lifetime, right? Like, do you want to have hobbies? Do you want to meet new people? Do you want to take lots of naps? That's do you want to cook more? Do you want to spend lazy afternoons with your family or a partner or whatever that is? So I'm always a fan of um, the term is atelic activities. Perhaps you've heard of this before. The word atelic, a meaning not, and then telic coming from the Greek for end. So activities with no end. You just do them because you love them. So like a crossword puzzle, yeah, a crossword puzzle, and a jigsaw puzzle, both of which I'm fans of. We have a jigsaw puzzle going with my family right now, and it's beautiful because it's not for anything. It's only for us, like only for our own enjoyment. But the problem is we can't get there if we're stressed and we feel behind and there's 10 other things on our plate. So yeah, so the first part of the book is like how to sort of contain all of that and make that more joyful. And then like how do we get to a place where doing and going for a walk, not because you're trying to get your steps in, but just because it's nice to walk. Like how do we get to that kind of place? And so to your question, I think duckbills and you're already doing it. Like you're already like helping people to contain all of the, I'm drowning feeling, creating a partner so that doesn't feel so intense anymore and creating a place to put that, like a literal place. There's an app where you can be like, this is my problem. I'm putting it in here. Because
Yes.
otherwise it's like in here. And then once that happens, then you can be like, I think I'll go to my New York Times Games app and play a little Wordle, right? Like, and you're not doing that because you're trying to numb yourself from all the tasks of the world and then it's like a guilty pleasure. No, the things are handled. And now you can have your jigsaw puzzle. And so that's what I mean by the get good at life and ever more possible because of you.
Oh my God. I will leave it at that. That was so beautiful. I am so glad you're reminding me of one of our earliest users who said, I came to you to solve my problems, but then I started realizing you could help me have more fun. And,
That's good too,
website
right?
nights or find activities around your
Yes.
community and volunteering opportunities, those things where you find purpose and meaning outside of work, which I'm a huge fan of finding purpose and meaning at work, but also work doesn't always love you back. And so having something that is bigger than that, I think is such a beautiful thing. I'm going to end this recording, Bree.